Announcing the arrival of Yang Berbahagia Professor Technologist Dr. Wahid Razali, the Vice Chancellor of University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. National Anthem. Yang Berbahagia Professor Technologist Dr. Wahid Razali, Vice Chancellor University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. ATEF 2018 Keynote Speaker, Forum Speaker and TVET Expert, Senior Officer UTHM, members of media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a wonderful morning we bid to all. On behalf of the organising committee members, I would like to welcome all of our esteemed guests and invitees to the Asia TVET Expert Forum, ATEF 2018. We are very honoured and proud to be able to hold this event at this magnificent venue, the Everly Hotel Putrajaya, and to convene panels of the forum and the participants at this extremely significant event. Honourable audience, ladies and gentlemen, carrying the themes Embracing TVET for Industrial Revolution 4.0, this forum is set to convene almost hundreds educators and enthusiasts from the Asia countries with the intention to deliberate on the new paradigm in technical and vocational education training. We hope that the event that we have planned for these 2 days will excite our minds and invigorate our enthusiasm for Asia TVET Expert, as this is the reason for the gathering today. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed with this morning business, I would like to call upon Dr. Afero bin Ismail from UTHM to recite the prayer to bless this morning's event. Please welcome Dr. Afero.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, Ya Rahim, praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds. Peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and for those who followed his example till the judgment day. Allahumma ya Allah, on this blessed morning, in conjunction with the Asia TVET Expert Forum 2018, we uphold our hands to pray gratefully to thank on your infinite favor to us till we can live in peace and harmony to perform our tasks as your servants. O Allah, we ask for your blessing to make this occasion in success. We seek your blessing for a flawless progress of this event from the beginning till the end. We seek your guidance to steer clear of event that would detrimental of progress of this event. Ya Latif, Ya Rahman, please bless us with your tawfiq and hidayah. Please guide us to greatness, peace, glory and prosperity in this world and the hereafter. Ya Munzilal Barakat, make us a responsible intellectual, grant us with a valuable knowledge, that will be beneficial to mankind in order to gain your mardotillah. Make us your righteous servant that follow your commands and neglect the sinful act. Please forgive us for our wrongdoing. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika abnabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you, Dr. Afiro, for the prayer recitation. May we be in the blessing of God Almighty and His kindness. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, to progress with this morning's agenda, I have the great pleasure and honor of inviting Yang Berbahagia Professor Technologist Dr. Wahid Razali, Vice Chancellor of University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, to the stage to deliver his welcoming notes. Yang Berbahagia Prof, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya bagi pihak Universiti Tun Hussein On mohon untuk benarkan saya bercakap dalam bahasa Inggeris sebab kita mengutamakan bahasa Malaysia, bahasa Melayu di dalam acara negara kita. Dan hari ini international event, so I would like to speak in bahasa Inggeris or in English. Yang berbahagia rakan saya Datuk Omar Sharif Maidin, the Executive Director of Skills Johor. Yang bahagia Prof Ismail Rahman selaku, I am speaking Malay, so I forget. Deputy Vice Chancellor of UTHM. Yang bahagia Professor Norani, who is the chairman of this RF meeting and forum, and also Dr. Isak, co-chairman. Yang bahagia Datuk-Datuk, and I know that there are very prominent people around here that I cannot mention one by one. I know that just now we have seen people like Datuk Wasitah binti Haji Muhammad Yusof. So, where is she? Oh, okay. Thank you for coming. He's from Ministry of Youth and Sports. And also, Datuk Aziz from ILSAS, who's going to be our partner in consultancies later on. And not to forget our friends from all over the countries. And I know today that we have roughly about represented by 7 or 8 countries in Asia. And let me just talk with you informally about what it is, because I guess that this is the expert meeting, and experts meeting don't need a formal thing to understand things, and therefore take your tie off or your coat off, but I mean instead in your mind. Okay, so let us discuss a few things about ATEF and what it is, and why do we talk about embracing TVET for Industrial Revolution 4.0. So may I start off with sharing with you that ATEF, that's Asia TVET Expert Forum, was formed in 2017 in Johor Bahru, and largely attended by more than about 20, I think roughly about more than 20 countries, involving experts from all over Asia at that point in time. And I was appointed the chairman of the day, and therefore today I'll see you again, and we are putting up the ATEF 2018 this time around. And a part of the thing that was agreed during ATEF 2017 was that we are going to continue on. And this next year, I guess that we have, and I've talked with Rebecca from Ningbo Polytechnic. Can Rebecca stand up, please? So he's the assistant president of Nanyang, not Nanyang, it's Ningbo Polytechnic. And we are in the midst of, initiating talk with Ningbo Polytechnic to have our RTF next meeting 2019 in Ningbo. Hopefully that, big. For your information, Ningbo is the exact site, cities for Industry 4.0. Is an airport city, a practitioner of Industrial 4.0, and we will see every one of us and what actually is the implementation of what we call Industrial 4.0 in China, for that matter. So thank you, Rebecca, for having us later on in 2019. And for your information too, that the flight fare to Ningbo is not that expensive. It's less than 2,000. Yeah. So I hope that I will see every one of us in Ningbo Polytechnic next year. So secondly, we also have what we call this ATEN. ATEN is Asia TVET Expert Networking. So this is something to do with people who practices, who are motivated, and who believe that TVET is the thing of the day. So why do we come together today and since 2017? It's simply because we would like to have a few initiatives. And for this year, I believe that we would like to setting up a TVET 4.0 initiative, firstly. Secondly, it is a point of sharing between experts. Therefore, today, we bring you the possible or willing expert who are willing to share with us some of their tips and tricks of the business of Industry 4.0. I don't have to mention every one of you, but it will be there in the panelists later on. But we have people like Steve McKee in that table. So he is, I would consider as a global TVET player and is practitioner of what we call Industry 4.0. So later on, this is what I'm sharing, and of course, he has something to say, and of course, you have something to say, though. So this is for us to share with him or him to share with us what is it all about. And also, Bapak Paryono, yeah, from Simo Watek, yeah, he is experts all over the world, and he is seen all over the world as well. So I hope that your views will be of importance to this meeting. And of course, Dr. Ramhari, yeah, he's the Director General of CPSC, and his predecessor was Dr. Naim, so I guess that he has some character of Dr. Naim. And Mr. Eric Soliman, so he's from High Tech Power. I understand that he is also a practitioner and also a business-oriented people. And so Prof. Jaya there, he is the director or the head of what we call Malaysian TVET Research Institute at UTHM. And of course, we have got Rebecca there beside you. Okay, I understand that she is entrepreneur expert in that nature. Okay. And of course, today we have, because I've said that sharing of tips involve industry people, involve training institute, involve educational institutes, involve the community, and involve the government. And today, we'll be bringing you a very important people from the government side. That's the Honorable Nurul Izzah binti Anwar, who is tasked by the government to improve or to strengthen TVET in Malaysia. So we hope to see her not as an artist, but as member of parliament who is tasked by the government on a very serious matter, that on TVET, the direction of TVET in Malaysia. And thirdly, the outcome, I would like to expect that I would like to strengthen the ATEN platform and ATEN network to continue on from year to year. And I hope that this is for willing partnership, and I hope that you are, and all of you, whom I consider as expert in this area, in this room, would like to share hands, join minds, and join hearts together to strengthen our ATENs. Now, the third point that I would like to mention here a bit is about that in the present world of technology, that innovation is very important. And today, innovation will stop if you stop questioning. If you don't have anything to ask, that's the end of innovation. So therefore, today, we encourage people to ask questions. And of course, some questions may not be answerable, because some of the questions are tough questions, and therefore, I believe that your question is much appreciated and is to be shared. And also, I would like to suggest that let us not talk about, I think we should be talking less on what, because we have what all in the internet, in the webs. We know what is Industry 4.0, but why? And the question of how to implement and how to make things applied into respective, institution. How to move Industry 4.0 to move the country economy. So that should be the focal point of discussion. And I hope that the expert will explore what would be the good points for the industry. May not be good point with educational training institution. So therefore, that we need to have more of a discussion. And for information too, that in other countries, what we call Industry 4.0 is termed or is coined differently. In the US, it's called, if I may say, is smart manufacturing. In China, I've got to qualify that because I read this in, it's called Made in China 2030. Yeah. So, and you know why, and I think I don't have to answer this because we have got Rebecca from Ningbo Polytechnic here. But if I may add that of all the country, the strongest giant in the country, China, why are they, they have lots of people to work on, but still that they embark on what we call Made in China 2030. What does it mean? It means that if we don't move in now, that we may be an elephant later on. Not a matter of 10 years, but a matter of few years or 5 years from now. And also in Korea, it's called Manufacturing Innovation 3.0, and in Japan, they term it as Industrial Value Change Initiative. So these are the terms that they use, but it's doing the same thing and the same jobs within the what we call parameters of Industry 4.0, which involve big data, which involve augmented reality, which involve robots, cloud computing, and so on and so forth. So in here today, I guess that being organizer or being chairman of ATEF or being chairman of ATEN, I would like to, ask yourself to clear up your mind, your thinking, into putting up this one day or at least half day of this, meeting to explore into this and let at least Malaysia benefit from your presence here in this Kuala Lumpur ATEF meeting 2018. So I guess this is what happening in Malaysia, that we are in the midst of developing, we are trapped in a middle income economy, and we have got to get out of that immediately. Even though that we found that the manufacturing sectors in Malaysia account for about 20% or 22% in that form. And therefore, if you don't move in quickly and wisely into this Industry 4.0, I guess that we may be left behind. Malaysia may be, find ourselves a big or white elephant somewhere in the jungle. And therefore, even though that I believe that Malaysia has a very high and competitive as a country, because we have, as a country, innovation index at number 37 of 127 globally. So I hope that's a reasonable figure, 37 out of 127. And also but unfortunately, that 90% of these manufacturing sectors, they are what we call under the small or medium enterprise, which means that coming up with a capital investment may be tough, maybe the second level of strategy that, that they believe in. And therefore, I think it is a point of interest to educational institutions like UTHM or like ILSAS or like MARA or like ATEC, JTM, and so on, polytechnics, community colleges, and also others, and also private sectors, how we should move on. So now that we arrange this, what we call forum, in a way that the views will be represented by sectoral views. So I hope that during the forum that you will have question and answers, and I hope that you will benefit most of these views or points discussed. So finally, my only wish is that I hope you enjoy Kuala Lumpur for our respected visitors and experts from other countries, from Bangladesh, from China, from Vietnam, and from other countries, from Philippines, from Brunei, and from other countries. And I hope that please take time off and spend a little bit of your money in Kuala Lumpur, and that buy a bit of presents for your wife or your husbands. So I hope that we will see you back in 2019 in Ningbo Polytechnic, which I must glad that Ningbo Polytechnic will be signing a MOU tonight, and even though it's not signed, that they have agreed to provide us with UTHM or UTHM Ningbo Polytechnic TVET Research Center there in Ningbo Polytechnic. So thank you again, Rebecca, and thank you everyone for sharing with us today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Yang Berbahagia Prof. Technologist Dr. Wahid for those highly invigorating and inspiring words of wisdom. I'm quite confident that those words have injected excitement in our esteemed audience and guests. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us resume with this morning's agenda. I am sure that we are eager to proceed with the next item and the highlight of this morning's program, the forum. For this segment, I again have the honor of inviting moderator cum instigator extraordinary of the forum, Professor Emeritus Dr. Jailani Mat Yunus, to moderate the forum session entitled Direction of TVET in Facing Industrial Revolution 4.0. But before we proceed, it is customary to introduce this esteemed personality. Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Dr. Jailani Mat Yunus has possessed his PhD from University of Sheffield, United Kingdom, specifically in technical and vocational education in 1997. Before that, he finished his master program in industrial technology education from University of Wisconsin, USA in 1989. Along with his working experience, he had been appointed as a Director of Excellence for TVET, Assistant Vice Chancellor, Industry and Community Relation, Dean of Faculty of Technical and Vocational Education, UTHM. He had been awarded for Darjah Johan Setia Mahkota JSM from Seri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong in 2009. Besides that, he has been awarded with Anugerahas Naib Chancellor UTHM in 2008 as well as Anugerahas Penyelidikan Kuito in 2005. Professor Emeritus Dr. Jalani Mat Yunus had published more than 100 books and journal articles. Yang berbahagia, Professor Dr. Jalani, I shall hand over the stage to you as soon as we have our esteemed and impressive panelists take their seat on the stage with you. Please welcome. And now, please welcome Dr. Pariono Simio Voltec Brunei, Dr. Ramhari Lamichani, Director General of Colombo Plan Staff College, CPSC, Mr. Eric Jude Soliman, Director of High Tech Power Incorporation, Philippines, Dr. Steve Mackey, CEO of LabTech Private Limited. And if I could join you to take your seat on the stage. Yang berbahagia, Professor Dr. Jalani, over to you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayidina Muhammadin asrafil anbiya'i mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to everyone. And this is the session that everyone waiting for. And I would like to brief the format of the forum first before I proceed the session. We have about 2 hours from now, and I think it's good enough in terms of time. I will give about 1 hour for the panelists to present their presentations, and for each panels, I only give 15, the most 20 minutes presentations. And then we will try to finish all 4 presentations before we proceed the Q&A. And I think about 1 hour we have time for the Q&A. And this is the format, and I believe that all the finalists be ready, or your slide, right? Okay, and of course, this is, as our VC mentioned just now, this is the most what's called important event about discussing about the IR 4.0, especially for TVET, because we are in the TVET family here. And we brought 4 expertise with a different background from the CPSC, Dr. Ramhadi, and then from Simi Worktech, Pak Pariono or Dr. Pariono, and Dr. Steve McLean is from industry, LabTech industry. Actually, LabTech is a US company, right? Regionally, but based in Batam, Indonesia. As mentioned by Prof. Wahid, Steve is a world, we call TVET world Tibet practitioner, yeah, especially in the TVET facilities. And then we got here from Philippines, Dr. Engineer Selimon, okay, Eric Selimon is from Philippines. And I will call to present, I think according to, from this role, right? Okay. And I believe that I don't have to explain the background of all the panelists, because we try to maximize the time that we have. So before that, I will expect that all the panels could cover maybe a few aspects related to IR 4.0. Maybe one is about understanding the about IR 4.0 relating to the TVET perspective, and then maybe about the relationship between the IR 4.0 and TVET as well, and third, maybe what kind of change should be made in TVET in order to be aligned with the IR 4.0, and what is the new skill. This is the most important thing that we as a TVET provider, we need we want to know what's a new skill for the that should be processed in order to survive in IR 4.0. And I think the most important here we would like to know, because we have representative from Philippines, from Brunei, from industry, from US, and from Philippines as well, CPSC, right? Where are we on IR 4.0 journey? So this is the most important aspect that we would like to know. Okay, and without further ado, I would like to call upon the first speaker, Dr. Ramhari, is from CPSC. Thank you.
Respected Vice Chancellor and President of the TVET export team, and the very renowned professionals in the dais, and all the TVET experts around the world. So on behalf of Colombo Plan Staff College, CPSC Manila, I would like to thanks for the UTHM and the organizing committee and all the professionals. I would like to say namaste, because I am from Nepal. Now I am representing Colombo Plan Staff College, and this organization is the intergovernmental organization of 16 different countries from the Asia Pacific and South Asia, including Malaysia. So, as per the plan, I'm going to present about the role of professional bodies in ushering in industrial revolutions, especially 4.0. Like professional bodies means, see, like CPSC, like human resource development organizations, different industries like lab techs, how they produce the materials for the TVET systems. My presentations will cover who are the professional body related to TVET, major roles of professional bodies, the old industrial revolution and evolution, the fourth industrial revolutions, trends, impact, trends and expectations for educations and training at the fourth industrial revolution, how TVET professional bodies will enhance education in the fourth industrial revolution, and concluding statement. Like we all know who are the professional bodies related to TVET. Professional bodies are organizations whose members are individual professionals. In some professionals, it is compulsory to be a member of the professional body. In others, it is not. Like some examples are, like a license, they will provide license to practice or to be on professional registers things. That's why this is related to how the professional is regulated, that is who is responsible for making sure that professionals are doing their jobs properly, maintaining quality standard. Examples of professional bodies include like engineering councils. Different countries has engineering councils, medical councils, nursing associations, safe association, welding associations, automobile association, electrical association, plumbers association. So there are many associations related to professional. Like on top of in addition to certificate awarding body, professional body will also provide a kind of certificate or licensing system to work. For example, in medical council, without the license of medical councils, no medical doctor can practice in most of the countries. So that's why professional bodies has very vital role to maintain TVET quality. Another is like professional bodies are important in regulating the standards, practices and outputs of each individual in line with the accepted and high quality expectations of the clients. They also provide support to the individual professionals through linkages and access in activities that can enhance his or her skills. So major roles of professional bodies are set and assess professional examinations. So they develop standards, they set and assess the examinations, conduct examinations, provide support for continuing professional development through learning opportunities and tools for recording and planning. Publish professional journals or magazines, provide network for professionals to meet and discuss their field of expertise, issue a code of conduct to guide a professional behavior, deal with complaints against professionals and implement disciplinary procedures, be enabling fairer access to the professions so that people from all backgrounds can become professionals, link to international professional bodies, and provide career support and opportunities for students, graduates, and people already working. So these are the key roles played by different professional bodies, particularly in TVET sector. So this is a kind of history. All of you are aware with this. No need to explain. Like the old industrial revolution and evolutions, like from 17th to 19th century, it is called first step of the revolution, used water and steam to mechanize productions. And second is 19th century to 20th century, use electric power to create mass production. And third, 1950s to 1990, we can consider that, use electronics and information technology to automate productions. And right now, after 1990s, the present industry revolution 4.0 is digital revolutions, blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological shapes. That is called cyber-physical system. So this is a kind of evolution of the industry. The fourth industrial revolutions urges us to think creativity about the following, like manufacturing process. So we cannot think about our traditional manufacturing process because this is a kind of cyber and digitized world. Another is value chain. Value chain is also very important. And distributions. So we cannot think about the traditional mechanism of distribution. So distributions through the airline, like e-commerce things. Now that's why, because of this distribution system, the owner of the Amazon.com became the richest person in the world. So no need to produce things because of his distribution mechanism, e-commerce, like Alibaba from China. So now they are the giant in the economic world. So customer service. So these four things are very important. We have to think in the industrial 4.0 especially for the bringing innovations and creativity. That's why in our TVET systems, in our curriculum, we have to think this area also, not only the core, hardcore technical skills. So this is also very important competencies we have to teach our student. Trends of the future industrial revolutions, like technology has made possible new products and services that increases the efficiency and pleasure of our personal lives. In the future, technological innovations will also lead to a supply-side miracle with long-term gains in efficiency and productivity. Like these are some examples. Nowadays, highly established hotels are going to failure because of the example Airbnb. Most of us, if we are a tourist, we want to explore through Airbnb, not in a hotel. So this is a kind of new, things like Grab, Wi-Fi. These are some examples. Impact of the fourth industrial revolutions, like businesses, especially because of Industrial 4.0, we have to think with impact in three areas: businesses, government, and people. If we see the business, like accreditation of innovations, that is very important, growing need for transparency and the consumer protection. New technologies make assets more durable and resistant. Data and analytics are transforming how they are maintained. For government, platform will increasingly enable citizens to encourage with governments, voice their opinions, coordinate their efforts, and even circumvent the supervision of public authorities. Profoundly impact the nature of national and international security, affecting both the probability and the nature of conflict. For people, like consistent connections may deprive us of one of life's most important assets, the time to pause, reflect, and engage in meaningful conversations. There will be a push on the current threshold of lifespan. Health, cognitions, and compatibilities will compel us to redefine our moral and ethical boundaries. So these are the impact of the fourth revolutions, especially in three sectors. So trends and expectations for education and training at the fourth industrial revolution. So most of us are involving in the training TVET sectors. So education will now be a mix between traditional education and MOOCs, massive online open courses. Yesterday we were discussing during our dinner time. So most of the TVET institutions, now we have to think investing in the infrastructure, because students can study from their house, online things. So we have to think our mindset towards what type of infrastructure we have to develop. The importance of digital identity is highlighted. This will address the lack of official documents verifying educational attainment. This will be very significant, especially that there is a refugee crisis in some parts of the world. People are displaced from their homes to other countries, hoping to escape war and persecutions. So this is the thing. Most of the countries, they have a surplus workforce, and some countries they have a minus workforce, like Malaysia. Malaysia is seeking, exports from other countries. I know there are about 1 million Nepalese working in Malaysia, especially in security. That's why Malaysian TVET systems should think about that type of workforce for relearning and the capacity development things. Then only we can address the Industry 4.0 issues. And other things, education is increasingly becoming just in time rather than just in case. It is more about what you need to know for a certain time than compiling knowledge that may never be needed. Data regarding student performance, behavior development, etc. etc., would create diverse and fast-changing data bank that will enable a fast and efficient way of exchanging information. So this is another trend. How TVET professional bodies will enhance? So considering the time, I am not going to read it all. Emphasizes the benefits of accreditation and certification. So professional bodies can, do like accreditation and certifications things. That is very important to maintain quality. Like we have APAC, Asia Pacific Accreditation and Certification Commission. So that commissions, we assess accredited the standard, quality standard of TVET institutions. For your information, in Malaysia, out of 9, the 9 polytechnics got gold award. That is the best result compared to other countries. So that means the quality standards of polytechnics in Malaysia is better than other places. Now Thailand, Philippines are coming very well, even in India. That's why this will recognize in the international forum. So accreditation is very important things that professional bodies can do. Similarly, know the paramount importance of establishing collaborative partners. So another things, the professional bodies can help to collaborative partners, network linkages. That is another important area. Similarly, initiate inter-institutional and cross-regional governance on TVET quality assurance. That is another important area we can work together. And capitalize the technology's advantage. That is another very important. That's why LabTech's, our STV is here. So they have technology. So if we are able to transform the LabTech technology in technical education, it will be definitely benefit. So this is another area of collaborations. So as a concluding remarks, TVET is a key element for socio-economic development, no doubt, despite considering the second category educations. If I ask to these professional people here, have you sent your children in the TVET system or university system? So it will start from that point. It is not static. It has no change as per industry needs and trends. Quality TVET is most important to fulfill industry's demand. Professional bodies are playing vital role to ensure quality of TVET programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramhari, keeping your time. And basically, yeah, time okay. Yeah, exactly 15 minutes. So basically, Dr. Ramhari talking about the vital of professional body to maintain TVET quality in facing the era of IR 4.0. And for the next speaker, I would like to call upon Dr. Pariono. He is a Deputy Director for the Professional Affairs and Research Management, as well as a specialist at the Semio Tech. And actually, Dr. Pariono, Pak Pariono is from University Malang, Malang State University, Indonesia. Okay, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Jailani, for the introductions. Very good morning, colleagues. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi semua. Again, it's my great pleasure to be here and in front of you. I think since everyone is expert, my presentation, I think, just give you some kind of, to ignite your interest, and maybe at the end we'll kind of create more debate instead of answers. I'm sorry that I cannot answer all of the listed questions provided by committee, because again, this is for me as the person working at the regional centers. It's a new challenge that we are facing, and it's very hard to give you kind of straight answer because everything is still uncertain. So I think this is a way for us to really think together and how to address these important issues. And as you know that I'm working in the Semio region, meaning that we are dealing with the countries who are very developed, like Singapore. Of course, Malaysia also, follow through, and Brunei, but also we have also some developing countries like Timor-Leste. So when we talk about this new trend about Industry 4.0, it's something that we need to really find the right balance, how to address this. So again, I just share with you the experience from the regional center. But again, I'd like to thank again all of the colleagues here from UTHM, of course, Professor Wahid and the rest, and the crew has been working very hard on organizing this. So this one, everyone see it everywhere, right? In the internet, this is about these 4 stages of industrial revolutions. And why are we now kind of really stunned with the last one? Are we really going through the first, second, and third? Or we are going to face some kind of mix among 4? And based on our experience, I think this is something that we need to juggle later on as the TVET experts. Which one among those many industry or occupations that we are dealing with, they are kind of ready to address or ready to kind of embrace Industry 4.0, and why one and others who might be maybe taking a little bit longer times in terms of adjusting or embracing this Industry 4.0. But I think we can see this mix. I think it's no countries in the world that at the end will be implementing Industry 4.0 100%, because I think the nature and then also the community, the workforce that we are facing is not creating that kind of situations. But I think this is inevitable, regardless, like or dislike. Certain part of our industry need to embrace and move forward, otherwise we will be leaving behind. I think everyone also have heard this about the future of jobs by OECD. It's quite stunning in terms of the numbers, that in 2020, this is very, very near. How many more years? Only like 2 more years. 7.1 million jobs disappear, and then 2 million jobs will be newly created. So in here, we can see a lot of dynamics that sometimes what we think right now maybe won't work in the near future. So that's why when we are facing with a lot of uncertainties, we cannot give kind of straight answer, but how can we think? How can we make our students continue learning and rethinking about new things? This is something that is very, very crucial for us to think of and to prepare, instead of giving kind of black and white like the way we think in the Industry 1.0. Yeah. So how can we address this? I just kind of show you some of the questions that I think we need to answer together. How fast is the impact of Industry 4.0 into the country's industry? And again, country by country, need to have different response. We cannot generalize that everyone need to move that direction altogether, but strategically we need to think, we need to map, we need to study, so that at the end we don't have any social issues we are facing. Of course, industry have the interests that, for example, like try to move as fast as they can, but the government needs to rethink about how can we make the people are happy, people get employed, because again, one of the challenges about Industry 4.0 is that many of the existing jobs right now will be gone if we let everything happen as it is. So there should be a balance that the government needs to think of, which one that need to be preserved in a way, so that at the end, our workers still work. I'm from Indonesia, as Professor Janet mentions, and we are dealing with 260 million people. And we can see the scale of the people. We can have different range from very poor skill until highly skilled individuals. So in this case, we have a few meetings in the government about how to strategize this. Of course, we need to move forward for Industry 4.0, but also we need to tackle the huge number of unskilled laborers that we have, so that at the end they won't be left behind. In the school in the US, they call it no child left behind, but in this city we should have no people left behind in terms of job markets, because again, this is something that we need to really think and work, especially those working in TVET, is very, very crucial. And what is the government role? This is very, very crucial, because government is the one making rules and regulations. which one that we let the industry to grow as fast as they can, and which one that in a way we need to be able to absorb the existing labor force. So I think the role of government need to consider and rethink. And how will this impact on the workforce preparations? And this at the end will dictate in terms of how to prepare the skilled laborers and also technicians, and what are the TVET roles in here. And I've been going around and discussing, there are a lot of seminars going on in terms of preparation for Industry 4.0, and again, there's a lot of issues and challenges. Maybe I can share some of those to all of you. These are some of the things that are happening that CMO Fogtech has been heavily involved. The initiative at the regional level in regards to anticipation of 4.0, especially in relation to TVET. So we had, I don't know, I think some of you maybe went there. We had some kind of seminars, building talent for the next production revolution. This one is in Hanoi. It was in October 2017. So we brought a lot of experts. We brought also from industry to discuss about how should this region move forward in here. And there is a summary that you can look at it. You can just type this in the Google. You will see all of the detailed reports. But I think this is nice to share, because again, this is not kind of a case that only one country or one school facing, but this is basically a worldwide phenomena that we need to continue sharing. The second one is we also discussed and we coined the term TVET 4.0 during the consultation workshop of TVET between Switzerland, ASEAN, and also ASEAN Singapore 2018 in Jakarta. So we coined this because we feel like we are not doing enough in TVET in response to Industry 4.0. So how should we do it? We can see that every country in this region, almost all countries, already talking about it and start revamping their TVET systems. In Indonesia, I think some of you heard about the revitalization of TVET. And then others, they call it not only just innovation, but restructuring of TVET. So there are a lot of initiatives that at the end try to respond to this. And then recently also we have webinar, and we're planning to continue having this webinar that later on I will share with you that CMO Fogtech now developing, we call it regional knowledge platforms, whereby we also create communities of practice. And one of the agenda will be having webinars on how to prepare ourselves in anticipation of Industry 4.0. So we had the first one, RICO TVET webinar on digitalization in TVET in Asia. We did it in April 3rd. So we will announce this so that at the end everyone, because all of you experts need to be linked, and at the end I think we can contribute. These just few that we have been kind of discussing in the region, how to anticipate this Industry 4.0. You can see here that some countries are very, very responsive, but some maybe still take it easy, because I think, knowing the challenge that we are facing are different. As you know, I think Thailand, they just put the term Thailand 4.0 as the big development agenda. So all of the ministry need to be aware of, they have to have a plan, because it's not only about TVET, but this is Thailand 4.0, meaning the whole country is kind of geared toward this kind of development. In this region, besides Thailand, I think we consider this is something that we need to tackle, but not really representing the whole country. So we address it in the conferences, in the seminars, and then the ministry put it in the pipelines. So we can see a few of this. In Brunei, we organized a conference 2016. Indonesia, we continuously, almost every month, they discuss about Industry 4.0 by inviting different ministries. Malaysia, I could see, if you check on the website, there are so many events on this. So I think this is a kind of directions that the government need to take. And because, again, I think Malaysia, as mentioned by Professor earlier, that you are ranked number 37 in terms of competitive index. So I think that's already a good start. But how can we continue sustaining and improving so that at the end the industry will really fit within the country? And Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, you can see a lot of events in relation to Industry 4.0. Okay, let's look back a little bit now in terms of how this will impact into the human resources. It's not my own study, but this is a discussion that also our colleague from Germany at that time led these discussions. That these interactions of the technology, the economy, the industry, at the end also will affect the way we prepare our human resources. So at the end, this kind of, you can see in these four quadrants here. And the one that related to TVET that we need to really focus on, that this Industry 4.0 in a way also affecting the way we educate our students, also the way we train our trainees. And this in terms of, handling the global training, the new approaches of trainings, I think this is the one that we need to prepare. But you could see here the four, again, quadrants here. You can see at the top is in terms of how these changes make into a good interactions, how can this to be viewed as an evolution, and how this also will affect the social dimensions. But also this, I think you can see the technology, that disrupting technologies that we are facing, that it could be also going there, because we need to change a lot that at the end will create some kind of disruptions. So this kind of interaction at the end, like or dislike, we need to take part and we need to respond accordingly. So how can we, as the TVET providers here, to supply quality and relevant human resources as a skilled technician? And this is a study. It's not done in this region. I think this is something that we need to do. We need to do together because it's not easy. We need to map in terms of what do we really need in terms of our human resources in the future. This is done in German context. But I think it's nice to learn that based on the response from the skilled workers, master craftsmen, technicians, and engineers, they consider the one in the circle. Those are very, very crucial that they think this will be happening. For example, here, the one with a scale of 4 meaning they fully agree that this will be really happening, and we need to prepare accordingly, is hybrid exercise of functions. Maybe for some of us may not really can vote, is the hybrid exercise of functions. Because again, it's a new technology that we need to think differently and act differently, so we need to think about using the hybrid exercise of functions. Experiences with the mechatronic plants, I think from LabTech, you have a lot of equipment in supporting these mechatronic plants. Shaping and user-friendly surfaces, making one's own decisions. So this is something that we need to prepare our students in terms of how can they make their own decisions. Mastering of complex plans, acquisition of knowledge via internet with manuals and sheets and data sheets. Ability to optimize plans, reading and assessment of machine. So these are the new things that according to the technicians, according to the engineers, is something that our employees, our workforce need to have. That this is something kind of inevitable. And then, let me check the time. How many more minutes?
About 3 minutes.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, 3 minutes. These are again something about the basic, we call it the broad competencies that I think will apply to our students regardless of what levels in anticipation of Industry 4.0. We cannot train something very specific because that specific will change very quickly, but these broad things we need to keep in mind. I think I don't have to go through it in detail. You can have the copy here. About learning to think by starting from the software, getting to know network structure, learning how to master big data technologies, learning how to work with a variety of data formats, understanding and master the processes, and so on and so forth. These, I think, the new things that, in a way, change the way we teach our students in TVET. So I think something that we need to consider. This is based on the study done by the Economists and Intelligence Unit about the Worldwide Education for the Future Index. So skills youth need to flourish. 1, leadership skills, entrepreneurial skills, interdisciplinary skills, digital and technical skills, creative and analytical skills, global awareness, and civic education. Again, this is again need to be packaged, so that when we came up with our new TVET programs, how can we make sure that all of these skills can be inculcated into our students? This is, again, is a new task that normally we kind of put aside. Also, these approaches to education that at the end also will affect us. Curriculum design and pedagogical transformations, we need to look into that, because curriculum is again our guidelines in the implementation of our education and training. New generation learning spaces, a focus on 21st competencies and partnerships. These also key things that we need to handle, we need to tackle when we address about these new technologies. Time, I think, is almost up. I just want to share with you about how they think TVET is the right place to train appropriate Industry 4.0. Based on the study in Germany again, they believe that TVET should be the main player in training and preparing the staff, or the employees, or the workforce for Industry 4.0. Employees with the vocational, high vocational, or engineering education geared at Industry 4.0 are likely to have very good employability and career opportunities. I think this is a good news, that with this Industry 4.0, TVET won't be left behind. This should be the one that we need to prepare, and at the end, our graduates should be employed compared to other levels. So I think it's good news for us working in this TVET side. Some examples, this is just looking from the neighbor, the Hong Kong, in terms of how they address or how they respond to the Industry 4.0. They're changing the learning environments. They also transform the pedagogical approach by incorporating and engaging experts from multiple stakeholders. I think that's common sense. And these are some examples in terms of what happened in the curriculum developments, what happened to the training facilities, that they really capture this in their programs. And I think this is something that we can also maybe learn from that when we're dealing with this Industry 4.0. Way forward, this is the final kind of conclusions in terms of what need to be done in these situations. The first one is government's guideline for industry players to follow pertaining smart industry. What I mean here is that at the national level, for those working at the national level, this is very right and strategic moment to really map out in terms of the industry, which one that we let this industry move as fast as they can, which one that at the end maybe still need to be controlled by government. So I think creating, having the rules from the government is very, very crucial. Second, mapping, changing, establishing occupational profile. This is very hard work because we need to start with the mapping, and I'm sure that also we need to change and establish occupational profile. Establishing study programs that may be not existing at this moment. Establishing sophisticated work process related curricula. I think this, again, for those maybe lab that can provide some equipment or whatever the setting of the lab, so that at the end we have this. Establishing teacher training programs. Again, teachers are very crucial. It's one of the pillars that in TVET that need to be prepared, with deep relation to the work processes. Establishing a factory of learning, bringing industry into the school, into the classroom, so that students can learn kind of in the natural context. We call it the authentic teaching and learning. And together, we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Relearn. This is what happened to myself, to all of us, I think, because of these changes. A lot of things is uncertain, a lot of things that we don't really know. And so I think we need to be willing to do this. We need to learn new things, or unlearn if necessary, and then relearn again. Last one, I'd like to invite all of you. This is the one I share with you. This one is not being launched, but I think this will be a good initiative and need support from everyone. Under Simeo Voctec, we developed a regional knowledge platform whereby TVET communities can interact, work together to make TVET in the region grow together. So this will be launched in 42 days in Philippines on the 4th of September. So under this platform, we have TVET in Southeast Asia, looking at, for example, like events, looking about initiative, country profile, good practices, we put it there. But the one that I'd like to invite to all of you is that I would like you to join the networking. I would like to join the communities of practice. And I can discuss with Dr. Razali later on in terms of how all of you can join in. So you can start going to community of practice and then register, and then we can create group by group, for example, like Group Industry 4.0, we can discuss over there. We can invite from industry to join in. This is again a place for dialogues among us online, because again, we don't have time to meet face-to-face all the time, but at least we can create this. We can provide you the platform, we can give you the resources, so that at the end we can again address this TVET in preparation for Industry 4.0. Thank you very much for your time. I think we can have a discussion afterward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pariono, sharing with us about your role, the CPSC role in terms of IR 4.0 in the Southeast Asia regions, especially in terms of knowledge, maybe technology, as well as the future readiness. And I would like to share here, if you can see in the competitive index on the IR 4.0, in terms of knowledge, I think Singapore is number 1. In terms of technology, Singapore is number 1. And in terms of future readiness, Singapore is number 6. So if you can see in the statistic, number 1 is Singapore, and number 2 is Sweden, 3 is USA, and number 4 is Finland. So where we are in terms of readiness of the IR 4.0. And Dr. Parano also sharing with us the impact of the IR 4.0 to the human resource. And then, of course, some of the skill set needed for the IR 4.0. So the next speaker is Dr. Eric Solomon. Okay, Dr. Solomon is from the president of High Tech Power in Philippines, and interesting about Dr. Solomon, IR Engineer Solomon, sorry. He has experience, 20 years experience in industry, as well as has education. So I think he has a vast experience and vast knowledge on the that we're discussing now on the IR 4.0. So please, Dr. Solomon, proceed your presentation. Thank you.
Greetings from the Philippines, honored guests, distinguished colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all. At the outset, allow me to congratulate Professor Dr. Noorani Binti Kaprawi, Chairman of Asia-Tibet Experts, Forum 2018, and her team for this gathering, this leading group of Asia-Tibet experts. And I would like to thank her for inviting me for this forum to share experiences and insights on the latest and sweeping phenomenon that is affecting every one of us today, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Fourth Industrial Revolution is the latest industrial transformation driven by increasingly rapid advances in digital technologies and growing state of interconnectivity that is alternating business landscapes, leading the change in manufacturing, but it is spreading like wildfire throughout all facets of the world's economy, affecting societies and human interaction. It has brought forth a host of disruptive trends affecting a number of key industries. Digital transformation, automation, and connectivity are the key trends that are already shaping our lives today. IR 4.0 have changed many of things we do today with the advent of disruptive technologies that change the way we live and the exponential growth of cyber connectivity for both humans and machines workforce. Development has never been as challenging. Many traditional jobs had been taken over by machines, and that can do the work with 100% accuracy and efficiency. Other jobs remain, but are coupled with human-machine interface to make work better. New jobs are being created that requires complex human thinking capabilities that is existing machines currently available cannot do what human can. There are also existing jobs that remains untouched, as it may take some time to develop critical intelligence at par, if not superior, than the human mind. The threat of displacement of labor due to artificial intelligence, AI, is real. A specific example of AI's potential to wipe out the existing 900,000 jobs in the Philippines is the next 3 to 5 years. So to provocate questions we need to answer, is our country ready for the 4IR? To fully realize the potential and improve connectivity and the e-commerce, we need infusion of tech literacy to our workforce. Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines are the only ASEAN members that comprehensive strategies to help grow tech-savvy human capital, with initiatives coming from all sectors, government, industry, and academia in the Philippines, is embracing itself at the onslaught of digital transformation that will change the landscape of the 21st century workplace. Industry, government, and academia play crucial roles in spreading awareness and initiating readiness in all sectors of society. In the identification of key priorities, opportunities and challenges, as well as development of plans and course of actions had been discussed in many forums and laid into doable plans to mitigate the effects of IR 4.0 among the people. A comprehensive national industrial strategy, CNIS, is being pursued to upgrade industries linked together and integrate manufacturing, agriculture, and services, address supply chain gaps, and deepen industry participation in global value chains. The Philippine Industry Road Mapping Project that started in 2012 has developed 40 industry roadmaps which lay down specific targets and courses of action in their respective sectors. At the center, all of these initiatives and preparation future workforce and development is only crucial and pivotal aspects. The Philippine government has reformed basic education with the K-12 law, introducing 2 years of senior high school to be at par with the rest of the world in terms of number of years in education. It also directed key education government agency, the Commission on Higher Education, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, the Professional Regulation Commission, and the Department of Labor and Employment to strengthen the workforce qualifications with the establishment of the Philippine National Qualification Framework. It has also taken an active role in crafting of the ASEAN Reference Qualification Framework for comparability of qualifications and workforce mobility among ASEAN countries. Starting June 2018, the Philippines is offering free college education, and its 112 state colleges and universities and 78 local community colleges under the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Law, otherwise known as the Free College Law. A leading Filipino industrialist, Jaime Agosto Zubel de Ayala, said that the fourth industrial revolution has already given rise to a number of benefits, and it should be viewed as an opportunity rather than a threat. I believe that for our country to successfully adapt to Industry 4.0 requires a paradigm shift in how we view ourselves in the manufacturing value chain, from a provider of a low-cost labor to an agile and nimble manufacturing hub, highly adaptable to technological changes, with the top 10 technologies that dominates the 4IR. Endless opportunity abounds. Leveraging our experience in high-tech products, investing in technology, embracing innovations, and adopting a progressive outlook can allow our local manufacturing to leapfrog and reap the full potential of participation in the global value chain. The Philippines' remarkable economic performance in 2016 and up to the first and third quarter of 2017 at 6.7% of GDP secures the position as the second fastest growing economy in Asia. During the same period, manufacturing grew at 8.3%, making manufacturing as one of the fastest growing economic sector in the Philippines. In implementing K-12 education, emphasis on STEM is integrated in the curriculum in order to enhance comparability of qualifications. The Philippine Qualifications Framework was established to ensure a seamless progression in education qualification in accordance with international standards. National assessments and certification is implemented at the Technical Vocational Education and Training, whose aim is to ensure that holders of such certification are capable of doing job in accordance with the workplace standards. The Philippines also adhere to the ASEAN Reference Qualification Framework and it's actively involved in the development of qualification standard for all countries in the ASEAN region. As in all other countries, the Philippines also faces the possibility of massive job displacement brought about by 4IR, as it also copes to develop its workforce for the future. There is a sign of weakening of demand for overseas Filipino workers and its traditional markets. However, new opportunities are also being tapped for a new job demands. The development of technology, savvy human capital, is an important aspect in making human capital development more responsive to the job requires in the 21st century. We at High-Tech Power Incorporated advocates for technology-driven curriculum that uses both cyber learning technologies along with partnership with the education and training sector, hands-on applications and practice. Relatively, the move has been towards universal, free education, encompassing all levels of education, from kindergarten to higher education, in all public schools, colleges, and universities. This move created more opportunities for aspiring students to enroll for free at all state-run institutions subject to certain guidelines. The business and the industry sector includes the government, have joined hands to prepare the Filipino workforce for the future. Initiatives on the creation of industry roadmaps provide the blueprint to keep the country abreast and ready for 4IR. Industries are also investing in workforce development, as many of them have acquired at least some of the biggest private universities and colleges as part of the corporate expansion. The provision of free tuition of all levels of education in public institution is the biggest single contribution of government to achieve readiness. There is now a strong support for industry, academe, government partnership to ensure that the right qualifications are developed in accordance with industry standards. Allow me to share our company initiative towards developing future-ready Filipino workforce. Our company, High-Tech Power, is leading 100% Filipino-owned company, providing total learning solutions to all levels of Philippine education system, from K-12 to technical, vocational, and higher education. We provide appropriate level technology based on learning materials backed by global network and manufacturers and software developers like LabTech. We provide hands-on learning experiences as well as interactive virtual simulations of real-life work environment. Our efforts are focused in giving our learners and future workforce a learning environment that approximates real workplace in accordance with the industry standards and practices. Our advocacy is focused on making learning accessible to as many people as possible through our e-learning softwares and educational hardware that combines the power of cyber learning and actual hands-on practice on a 24/7 basis. With more than 2 decades of expertise, High-Tech Power continues its quest to serve the nation in bringing the best learning technologies from around the globe by providing skills-based educational equipment and industrial solution. We at High-Tech Power provide educational technology solution at various levels of learning. We advocate and promote educational technologies that are learner-centered, which are available on 24/7 basis. We have partnered with the best educational technology providers around the globe to bring to our country the most advanced learning system that will prepare our people for the fourth industry revolution. We started its journey with only the desire to build a better industry and future. Now, the responsibility we have in our hands is more than what we have ever imagined. The goal is not only to attain its vision, also to make sure the help we provide is progressive, relevant, and inspiration for Filipino society to build their own goal in continuing the legacy of Filipino dreamers and builders to make our nation more developed and a better place to live in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer Solomon, and sharing with us about the issues, challenges, and initiative in facing an era of IR 4.0 in terms of from the industry perspective in Philippines. And you also mentioned and share with us about the in-house training in-house training center in the High-Tech Power. Okay. Last and not least, our panelist, Dr. Steve McKee from LabTech.
Okay. All right. Now we're live. Thank you. Sorry for that technical glitch. My computer would not recognize or the VGA would not recognize my computer on there. So nice to be with you this morning, and thank you very much for the invitation to be here. Thanks to Professor Dr. Wahid, Dr. Naraini, Dr. Jelani, UTHM. I just was 2 weeks ago in Southern Africa doing a presentation discussing about Industry 4.0 at a region-wide, or actually African-wide conference about educational development there. And this is a topic that is very important all over the world. In Africa's context, what they're concerned about is, of course, missing out on 4.0, but also how this impacts their educational development. At LabTech, we're a little bit fortunate that we work in about 75 countries around the world. I'm also on the executive board of World DIDAC, the Global Association for Educational Manufacturers. Why we are involved in this topic, this dialogue, is we're one of the partners for education for designing and developing new educational training systems to meet the challenges of 4.0. And so we design things for 4.0 itself, and also looking at the issue at large. And so today I'd like to talk about kind of how we view this and the journey that we've taken along the route over the last number of years. And LabTech itself has been around 30 years almost. I've been working in international education for up to 40 years. And during this period of time, we've seen a tremendous growth in economic performance. I mean, Malaysia is certainly one of the top countries that has experienced this more than others. And this happened in what we call the developed world first, and then as developing countries have developed, we've seen rapid growth in economy and changes in society. So when we talk about 4.0, I view this as a continuation of what we've already been doing in a number of ways. Yes, it is accelerating, it is getting faster, it is also going to impact us in a different way. But if you look what is the journey that Malaysia has taken, for example, over the last 30 years, this has been hugely rapid. I first came to Malaysia in the mid-1970s. It was a different world back then, and arguably that Malaysia was, if you look at the various steps, 3 major steps in economic development, which the Asian model has been following. You have the low labor-intensive initial first stage, and Malaysia was that back in the 1970s. It then transitioned to the middle stage, the capital-intensive, later on in the 80s and the 90s. And it's been aspiring to be a fully developed country, which you've almost achieved. I think in many ways, Malaysia could be considered a developed country. And we go through these phases of labor-intensive, capital-intensive, and knowledge-intensive. What I'd like to point out is that along that journey, the education system has always changed. What it was at the first step is not what it is at the middle, and not what it is at the higher level. At the beginning, you would call this a semi-skilled area. In the middle, we're talking about skilled development and going into traditional TVET. In the upper level, we're talking about highly skilled workers, knowledge workers. And so this is where Malaysia is already transitioning to, and other countries. Not every country and not every segment of an economy will transition at the same time. You will still find some places in Malaysia that might be considered as labor-intensive areas. Certainly if you deal with countries like India, you're at all 3 levels simultaneously across their large country. So if we look at how education evolves, I think now the discussion of IR, we can add a 4th block onto this for what is coming for this new era, and it is accelerating that knowledge economy. It's things that we could see there, but coming to fruition at this point. Another way to look at Industry 4.0 is the phases of economic activity and development, which they divide into primary, secondary, and tertiary. The primary being the agricultural, forestry, mining. The secondary is heavy manufacturing, and some would call that, Industry 2.0. Tertiary is the service sector and hospitality, and the quaternary is this IT, computing, R&D. This is the fourth revolution. And there's an interesting chart that we've been working on for this, and why don't it come up? Okay. Now my presentation seems to be frozen. This is good. I need my AI here someplace. What we have here, and if you haven't seen this chart, this is how the industries change over time in a society. So if you go to the left-hand side, that primary area, the blue line, is way up at the top. That means you would have a large number of people in the agricultural sector. But as you go through the progressions, the number of people involved in that economic sector decline. For example, in the US, 100 years ago, 70–80% were involved in agriculture. Today it's 2%, less than 2%. But those 2% produce more agricultural output than those 70 and 80% 100 years ago. And this is how sectors transform through society. And this is happening to all those primary sectors, the same type of changing of lesser people having higher productivity and output is happening across these areas here. And so what Malaysia has been experiencing recently, you might be where that deindustrialization line is. Professor Dr. Wahid, I think, mentioned about the sector for industrial output is about 22% or in the 20%. It's not really rising. In fact, it might be even declining. Your output may not be declining, but the amount of people in there are declining. And this is where we come. You see the secondary for the manufacturing actually starts to decline, and we call deindustrialization. So we're at that point here in Malaysia. What has been rising is the green line, the tertiary. This is the rise of the service industry, people involved in soft industries almost, and also knowledge industries could be in there in a way. So the knowledge industry, or the tertiary, has been coming up and replacing those jobs that have been lost by the other sectors. But as this fourth industrial revolution comes, that too will start to decline. We will see a hollowing out of the service industry as it is being taken over by AI. Eric made a very good case here about the call centers in Philippines. You have 1 million people in the call centers in the Philippines right now. This is foreseeably in the next 5 years could be automated by AI. And those 1 million jobs will be lost. And that would be in that tertiary sector and cause it to decline. So this quaternary, this area is going up. There may be another thing after this that will also cause it to decline. But this is disrupting the other sectors. This is causing the other sectors to decline in employment. Now the issue is, as you transition in your society and jobs are being lost in one sector and new jobs are being opportunities to create another sector, it is how we reposition our population in those segments here. This is the challenge to do this. So will those call center people, what will we do with those 1 million people? There will be other jobs that will open up. Problem is, will those other jobs open up in the Philippines for those people? Or will now the new jobs arising by the changes in industries be opening up in other countries? Globally, it will balance, but it won't balance in each country. And this is the challenge of all of us in government and education, is to try to provide the opportunity to transition our societies into those jobs, to open up those jobs in our countries so that we have full employment coming along here at this point. And if we look at the power of how technology is changing, what we're experiencing here, it's not just individual technologies, but they're working in concert together to deliver these things. For example, the call centers is a good example. It's not just AI in there, but it's the rise of these big server farms. So where will those things happen? They'll be located in the server farms. Are they here in Malaysia? A little bit, but not really. It's not a big player in this area. One of the up-and-coming countries in this area is Iceland, that has a cooler climate because cooling is an issue for server farms. They're also developing green power for those server farms, and it's one of the winners in this area. If we look at autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles have been around for a long time, but the game changer in this is combining the technology of GPS, ICT and electronics, AI, robotics for self-steering, connectivity to the internet, electrification of the grid, that gives us the power, the ability to have autonomous vehicles. You may be piloting those types of programs in Malaysia right now. I know Singapore is. And in the foreseeable future, commercial vehicles such as taxis, delivery vans and things will be probably the first to be automated. There will be huge displacements in this sector too. In the US alone, we know that about 3 million jobs are at risk over the next 10 years due to autonomous vehicles. Now, there will also be jobs opening up in the US too at the same time. But let's face it, truck drivers, are they going to be able to be retrained to take advantage of these new jobs that are coming up? It's unlikely. They're not geared towards that way. And the training and reskilling is not being provided either to them in a way that they can take advantage of it. I think actually Southeast Asia has a better proactive history of dealing with sectors that could be left behind, because the development here has been so rapid, and the political dialogue and discourse is always geared towards let's not leave anybody behind. We heard that from speakers earlier. In the US, they really don't care. You know, it's the economists will say, well, the person who is displaced due to whatever reason will take the next economic opportunity. He'll take the next job that comes along. If he needs retraining, he will seek it. The burden is on the individual, not upon the government to assist. And I think that is possibly unfair. I think these trends also, in my opinion, are leading to what we call a second wave of globalization. We've seen the first wave of globalization, and Malaysia has been a big benefactor from that. Foreign direct investment came here, which was, gave jobs and employment with capital from outside to kind of put your economy on steroids for a while so that it could leverage up those rungs of development. Seeking lower labor costs in the beginning, but then seeking skilled talent, which you also developed very well during that period. And Malaysia did a very, very good job of that. But now in the second wave of globalization, things are going to change. And we're looking at the economies and wealth are going to start shifting again in a different way. Before it was seeking low labor. That's what drove a lot of this. Now, what is it going to seek? It's going to seek perhaps being industries not going to have the labor element. They're going to, these new factories for Industry 4.0 are going to seek skilled labor that can maintain those factories. So Malaysia needs to produce those if it wants to have Industry 4.0 here. I think it can, I think it will do that. Other countries may not be so fortunate, I think, and they're not so well positioned, so I'm worried about them. I'm worried about countries like Myanmar, Bangladesh, that will, particularly Bangladesh, it will lose a lot of the jobs there due to Industry 4.0. And they will probably leave that country and they will probably not be replaced. So it's not where Industry 4.0 would choose to have a factory. I think the considerations of where the factories will be selected are things like either the factories will locate close to raw material so that the transport to the raw material is less and then they'll produce a finished good and send it to the consumer, or they might locate near the consumer. So societies and economies that have a large or growing consumer base, such as China, Indonesia, India, are well placed for this because there's growing domestic markets there. Again, marginal countries or countries that may not be so wealthy will not qualify for that. And I'm concerned of how they will continue to develop. We may see, as we see in global wealth, a widening between the haves and the have-nots. I think this will happen at a national level as it's happening at an individual level too as well, if we're not careful, if we don't make things that are inclusive. So which jobs are going to go and which ones will last? I think you can look at it this way, that on the right-hand side here, the things that are predictable, the things that are physical are suitable for automation. Things that process data are vulnerable to AI. Things that collect data in there. So the call centers, this type of thing, is very, very susceptible to this, in particular for specific jobs. So anyway, there's things like the garment industry, the call centers that we mentioned for stuff like this. One of the things I also saw that was interesting concern, which countries will be hardest hit? Initially I thought it would be the West, because this is where Industry 4.0 will happen, the largest disruptions will be there. But as you can see from the study that was done by McKinsey, the darker countries are the countries that will experience the most displacement in the workforce. And this is the other side of 4.0. I think this is a side that we have to address for TVET and technical education, of reskilling and retooling these people that are already in the workforce. And this is a transition our education systems have to make. We still, for most countries, focus on the youth and getting them employed, and we forget about them once they have their job. We now need to participate in this. We need to reskill the people that are out there. That is just as important as the youth. Otherwise, if they lose their job, they become displaced, and they can't get an equal job of equal value, they're going to become dissatisfied and unhappy. And as an American, I can tell you this is a problem, because those dissatisfied and unhappy people in the US that were displaced by the first wave of globalization elected our current president. You know? And so it has political ramifications. This is not a good thing. They would be turned off about these types of developments and things like this. So I'm going to close with one more slide and then a short video, if I might, Dr. Chilani. So this is a very, very interesting chart I found. This was actually brainstormed by Eric Teller, the CEO of Google X, who is their manager in charge of all their experimental apparatus, including autonomous vehicles and space programs and things like that. So he had an interesting chart here, which is we talk about how the red line is technology that is growing exponentially and how rapidly it's increasing. The blue line is human adaptability, the capability and capacity for us to change as a society. And so there's a point where this crossed, where we're innovating and developing so fast, it's faster than we can adapt. And in his estimate, we were at where the dotted line was. That we've already passed the point of our comfort zone, and we're facing a future where this is going to grow increasingly more rapid, and we're going to face more disruptions faster than we can deal with it. We're finding industries that come in and out of being before we even have time to legislate and to put laws to regulate them. They will come in existence and pop out of existence within a period of 5 to 10 years, and our government doesn't react very quickly in most cases. That's in a time frame that's too short for us to deal with. And so this becomes an increasing problem, how we do that. Education is certainly one of the slower institutions in our government to react. Education has not fully benefited from technology transforming how we teach and learn, how we distribute learning, how we monitor learning, how we certify learning. We're still in Industry 2.0, I think. I don't even think we're in Industry 3.0. And already we're talking about 4.0. We need to dramatically overhaul the education system if we're going to live up to these challenges. Who we train, how we train them, when we train them needs to be completely rethought. So what we are looking at is the process of how we reinvent TVET here. And so at LabTech, we're working in issues about virtual TVET, a program that we call virtual TVET. We're virtualizing a lot of this program. You can see this at our booth next to the UTHM out there. We're working in virtual reality, augmented reality, to change how we deliver these programs. And we're looking at a model like this, to where if you look at your training program, going from right to left, where you generally start with theory and you move to practical, we're building out systems that will deliver about 50% of the training program in a virtual manner. And that's through all types of devices. That's through your phone, your laptop, your augmented reality, virtual reality. And so what we do hands-on, this is a play in between. You would do more in the virtual area at the beginning, but then you fuse it and you blend it with the practical, the hands-on. This will change the way the schools look. It'll change the way the labs are. It'll also dramatically reduce the cost of education, I think by at least 50% over traditional standards. And so this will deliver better skills, easier updated in the future. I'll give you a little example of this. And you can see more at our booth there. If I can get to the desktop here. And I'll just show you this little video. This is actually a little demonstration of one of our recent augmented reality demonstrations. So this is only about 2 minutes long. And this is blending older style technology teaching with newer style. And this is part of our automotive program that we're working on with Toyota for a hybrid engine training program. And here we have features. What we see here down in the corner is a sectioned Toyota Prius engine, which is illuminated and it's motorized. And typically you would have this in a training lab, and this is what you would have. This is a very nice sectioned engine. You can see it's nicely illuminated. But what the student is doing here, he has his phone here, and he has one of our AR apps on it right now. And so what he's just called up, as you can see here, is a virtual 3D representation of that engine he's looking at. Problem when you look at a section engine, you don't know what is what. It's not labeled. You don't know what piston from a valve. And so the learning, you'd have to look through the book and then kind of look at the engine. But we're combining the AR app, and what we're seeing here on the screen is what he's looking at through his phone. You could do this on a tablet. You could do this on anything with a camera actually built into it. And now he's taking that engine apart. It's coming apart there, on there. and he's looking at this superimposed on the live thing behind him, and then he will then look at identifying the parts and the components on this. He can see what it is, he can identify things, he can see what the function of the unit is, unit by unit. So he can even call up other additional resources on this, such as, and I'm just sort of scrolling forward here, he's called up now resources that are telling him about this. And so what it is linking the camera's eye to identify various things in the world around him and tell him about this. This is one of the ways that we can use AR for making education more useful and also entertaining to the student. So I'll just close with that. We have some samples over at our booth over here. If you'd like to see more about that in our virtual TVET program, I invite you to come over and let's collaborate and see what new things we can bring to the future then. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Steve McKay. Yeah, of course, your last slide is quite long. So I want to summarize your presentation. Basically, you mentioned about the global landscape of the IR 4.0, especially in terms of opportunities and in terms of way forwards in teaching and learning using the virtual reality. Okay, now because we have to end our session by 11:30. So it's about 40 minutes. No, it's about 30 minutes, yeah. So, okay, let's start our Q&A. And as I said, you have to mention your name, your institution or agencies, and to whom you would like to address your question, please. I will take first 3 questions from the floor, please. Yeah, you have mic there? Bagi mic there.
Thank you very much for allowing me the first question, Mr. President. My question is to Dr. Steve. My introduction is, this is Hamid from Bangladesh, President IDB. My question is to Dr. Steve Mackey. As you said, the human adaptability or capability is less than that of technology going up. But is it not contradictory? How technology will go without the capacity of the human being? So I think this is whether it is contradictory to your presentation. Another thing is that you have said that regarding job losses. Have any data sector-wise how much job is losing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Engineer Hamid.
Thank you so much for our colleague from Bangladesh, and sorry for that I was using your country as an example, but in this, but it's important to.
Thank you very much. You just remember the name of my country.
But I worry about all countries, and because we work across so many, and I'd love to see this balance in the equitable world. But I think that there are more places that are at risk. So technology and humanity is an interesting concept. I think we don't talk about this enough, and I think that society does not have a good way to dialogue about this in a meaningful manner, too. I think that we are possibly at risk of losing a bit of our humanity through the advance of technology. It's important that we keep technology for our own use. And the reason I say this is as AI comes on, we will reach a point when AI is developing itself without humanity, actually, in the foreseeable future, in the generation of our children. This will happen if you look far enough down the road. And that's a scary proposition. But already what's happening is technology is being employed mainly not because of its positive impact on humanity, but because of economic sense. So if the 1 million Filipinos in the call centers can be replaced by AI robots, and you can see those demos on YouTube right now of the new Google AI where you can take your assistant and say, please make an appointment for a haircut. And an AI assistant will make a call to a human person, interact with them like a human person, make an appointment for your haircut, deal with issues that person brings up and responds. This is basically what a call center does. So taking that and just putting it in the call center, 1 year or 2 years, that'll be done. And it will be employed by businesses, and they won't care about those workers that are displaced in the Philippines. What they're caring about is that this will save them money. It's just like the transition. You're going to experience the same thing that the Western countries experience of industry shifting to lower cost. And the low labor cost is not humans anymore, it is AI then. And that will happen, and there will be displaced people about that, unless we regulate it. And one of the thoughts is that can we, in this era of disruption, can we make that cost of changing the technology, let's say, the point is, who's going to pay for retooling the 1 million Filipinos that are being lost in this area? Because those jobs won't come back to the Philippines in the same format. But could we possibly put a tax like an employment tax? Malaysia has an HR fund. Could we have an HR fund funded by the new changes in technology, the companies that are driving that, to provide for the reskilling of those people? Maybe. I don't know, but this is an issue for government to determine who's going to pay for these social changes on there. How many people will happen? It's estimated that within the next 15 years that 50% of the jobs may disappear according to various reports that I've read. So that also means that for education today, kids in primary school, we're training them for jobs that don't exist right now. And this has never happened in education before that much. We actually don't know what jobs they're going to be available for them when they graduate. So how do we teach them for that? And I think this gets to the point of a dialogue that we had at dinner the other night, Dr. Ramhari. The greatest thing we can teach kids right now is how to learn, because they're going to have to be doing that their whole life. And that's a fact. And how educational institutions will relate to that during lifelong learning, we still haven't answered that question. In the 10 years we've been talking about lifelong learning or more, there still has not been a fundamental change in the education institutions to deal with that effectively. So I think this is another issue that we need to do. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Marjorie Mandanilla from the Philippines. I would like to thank first ATEF for bringing all of these experts together in this room. But my question will be for all of the speakers. Dr. Steve said we are reinventing TVET. They work, or LabTech is trying to work on reinventing TVET. I think that's a very good effort. How about, my first question is, reinventing the basic education, because the people going into TVET, who will be our future worker, comes from our basic education. First question. The second one would be, when you do reinventing the educational system, we have the key person who are the teachers. Do we have, or have we had any thought of looking at also reinventing the education system for our future teachers? Thank you.
Okay, who's going to answer first?
So thank you so much for that. I think basic education, yes, does need to be reinvented. And unfortunately, we work mostly in the TVET area, so that's why our mission is for our company as LabTech to reinvent TVET. That's why we're sitting on the TVET panel here. But basic education goes hand in hand with that. I think that the world's made great advances in basic education in the last 15, 20 years, though. Literacy rates have risen. And this is why we're talking more about TVET now. Once you provide basic literacy and education, it's now about putting those people to economic use, so providing them careers that they can support their families and have decent social dignity through work. And this is why I think the TVET dialogue is coming up more and more, because that's what we're about. We're about putting people to work and giving them the skills for that. Teachers are a huge role in this. If we talk about changing anything in education, we have to bring the teachers along with us. They have to be at the front. They have to change. They have to want to change. They have to be retrained and reskilled too as well, because these new tools and new learning styles will need a new set of skills that they need. I think it was mentioned earlier, Dr. Wahid, about new pedagogy also. We need to do work on it. What is this new pedagogy? There's bits and pieces of it out there, but it's not a coherent vision yet. And so once that is defined, we need to then improve the teacher training programs for the future teachers being prepared, but also to upgrade those that are already out there is extremely important. Most countries I still see, still have not embedded 21st century learning concepts into the existing teacher training programs. They have been very, very slow to change pedagogically. They've been slower to change than the actual training programs at the schools. The amount of times that the curriculum has been updated for teacher training programs is more infrequent than the technology programs. And so we need to, many countries need to overhaul their teacher preparation program. And that can start right now. There's a lot that we know that's clear that we can embed in for 21st century learning skills. Thank you.
I think it's good enough. Now I would like to open one more question. This from local, I hope. Please. Yeah. Ada mic? Yeah, okay, ada mic.
Thank you. My question is to Dr. Stephen McKee.
Zainab, right?
Yeah, I'm Zainab.
Yeah, Zainab.
I'm from the Department of Polytechnic and Community College Education. Okay. You said something very insightful, I think, about retraining, reskilling and upskilling the current workers, and what happened in your country, in US, and the Trump voters. I hope the audience were paying attention when you mentioned that, about unsatisfied people who are currently in the workforce, and when technology changes and they find themselves losing jobs. I see that most probably will be coming into our country, and I see that currently majority of people who are here, we are concentrating on doing TVET for the pre-employment, and we sort of are neglecting the people who are currently working. And I see the need for us to help these workers. But there's something about Malaysia, I think it's a common knowledge. Most of the companies, the industries, they are not so willing to give the current workers to come over and to come over to train or to get retraining or refresher. So what are your ideas? How can we change that, so that we don't have this problem continuing? Because of course these people are going to cause a lot of problem when they have to compete with the incoming workforce. Thank you.
I think I'm going to ask Dr. Pariona to answer this question about what were the roles and the changing about the workforce, because I think you have some good comments about this, I'm sure.
It's very interesting. Thank you for the questions. But when we work in TVET, as we know that normally what we do, we plan with the curriculum, we map it based on the need of the industry, and so on and so forth. So this kind of pattern that we have been doing sometimes does not fit. And right now with this new technology, a lot of things does not fit. So TVET has to be very responsive in a way that, in a way, the way we develop programs should be very different. Just take an example, I think the neighboring country, Singapore. You could see that the type of programs they're offering, semester by semester, change very drastically, year by year. Because again, they keep mapping, they keep kind of searching in terms of what will be the new occupations that is kind of relevant for industry and also relevant for the, it's interesting for the students. So these two things, from the demand and supply side, the interaction is very, right now is continuous. So I think our role here now should be very more vigilant than in terms of looking into what are the new things happening, and we need to capture and also offer it in our programs. So talking about reskillings and talking about training of those who already employed that you think is very lacking, I think this is a challenge. And I think in some countries they enforce, from the government point of view, they enforce about having CSR in a way, that they need to allocate 2% in certain countries or 5%. So that is kind of mandatory for the industry to invest some of their money for retraining their employees. Without an enforcement, sometimes because industry is very tempted that they need to meet certain target in terms of profit. So without an enforcement, I think it's very, very difficult. I don't know whether this could happen in Malaysia, but I think CSR is everywhere, right? So this, I think, is one of the ways to ask the employers to have responsibility of allocating some funds for training the employees. Maybe you can add some more.
Yeah, thank you. Very good, prominent questions. I think I will start from Dr. Hamid, because his concern was like technology, the growth of technology and the adaptation by human being. Definitely your concern is right in terms of the production side. But the simple example is, the technology is developed by people. But common people are not able to adopt that technology. For example, mobile. We are not getting the benefits, only 5 to 10% of the technology. There are 100%. Means we are not quite adaptable to apply all the software what is inside the mobile. That was his concern, like technology is in that way, not the another perspective. And regarding reskilling, that we discussed very nicely. Simple example, like we have to think greening TVET concept, like sustainable development in all curricula. Not only that, like the Marjorie madam mentioned about the teachers. That's why Thailand, Malaysia, now they have put compulsory industry exposure. That is a kind of basic requirement for teachers. So maybe after 5 years, the teachers will come from industry, not from the training institute. So that in that case only we can adapt, we can give the the demand-driven skills. Our traditional teacher cannot teach maybe 5 years. After 5 years. That is the kind of reskilling we need for teacher. And simple example, for example, driver. The traditional, the driver who can drive only will not work. They need like a ICT knowledge, like how to use Grab, how to respond the request from Grab, that sort of. So it means reskilling comes from the existing driver. We have to give 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe some technology training. Then only they can respond to the demand of customer by their mobile. So that is the things we have to think. That's it. These are the areas I think prominent in all occupation. That is the simple example of driver. So maybe like in Bangladesh case, now Bangladesh is known for the garment industry. Maybe after 5 years, there will be all automatic machine like AI things will come and all present tailor will be replaced. So that time Bangladesh TVET system should think about that technology. Maybe after 5 years, let's say bachelor degree holder will be the tailor, not the uneducated people. So reskilling comes in that way. Thank you.
Just to add one point to your question about the reskilling. I think, if you remember, one of the earlier charts that I showed was the phases of development, and we're talking about how education systems change as you develop. Malaysia is about to be a developed country, and one of the hallmarks of the education system of a developed country is attending to reskilling, because you have more or less full employment, and you need to make sure that your society is brought along. So that is one of the adjustments you need to make. And so probably the Polytechnic division or the other divisions that are concerned with vocational education training each need to add a department of adult education rather than just pre-work education. So that would mean that you've achieved one of those hallmarks of being a developed country when you pay attention to that and put that within your system.
Okay, thank you all the panelists. I have to end this session. And before that, I would like to, as a conclusion, I think back to the main topic of the forum's direction of TVET in facing IR 4.0. I think when we talk about way forward, we already discussed maybe about the characteristic of the good TVET system in terms of curriculum, in terms of training, practical training, in terms of student and qualification, in terms of qualities and trainers, and in terms of positive image. So this is, I think, we almost cover all the aspect of the that we are discussing today about the direction of TVET in facing IR 4.0. Thanks. Can you, all of you with me, to give a big applause to all the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you to our moderator, Professor Emeritus Dr. Jailani Mat Yunus, and a big round of applause for our esteemed panelists for their insightful and penetrative deliberations of the directions of TVET in facing Industrial Revolution 4.0. Ladies and gentlemen, may we now call upon Yang Berbahagia Professor Teknologis Dr. Wahid Razali, UTHM Vice Chancellor, accompanied by Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Ishak Baba, the Co-Chairman for Asia TVET Expert Forums 2018, to present the token of our appreciation to the Honourable Moderator and the panelists. So please welcome now our esteemed moderator, Professor Emeritus Dr. Jailani Mat Yunus, to receive our token of appreciation. Please welcome Dr. Ramhari Lamishani, Director General of Colombo Plan Staff College, to receive our token of appreciation. Please welcome Dr. Pariono Simio Voltec Brunei to receive our token of appreciation. Please welcome Dr. Steve Mackey, CEO of LabTech Private Limited, to receive our token of appreciation. And last but not least, please welcome Mr. Eric Jude Soliman, Director of High Tech Power Incorporation from the Philippines, to receive our token of appreciation. And now we would like to welcome all the panelists and the moderator to be in the middle of the stage to have a photo session.